Liberals, they spent the weekend freaking out and completely misrepresenting President Donald Trump's extreme vetting temporary travel ban for countries that have ties to radical Islamic terror. Tonight, we will separate right here fact from fiction, truth from hysteria, because that is exactly what is going on here. For example, yesterday, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer welled up in tears and crocodile tears talking about the president's executive order. Really, Chuck? Watch this.
So, this executive order was mean-spirited and un-American.
Really? Saying that about the president? Now, President Trump responded to that Oscar-worthy performance from Senator Schumer, and he said this.
I noticed Chuck Schumer yesterday with fake tears. I'm going to ask him who is his acting coach, because I know him very well. I don't see him as a crier. If he is, he's a different man. There's about a 5% chance that it was real, but I think they were fake tears.
Now, what Chucky Schumer didn't tell you, he supported a refugee pause back in 2015. And by the way, I don't remember Senator Schumer crying after the terror attacks in San Bernardino or the Chattanooga shootings, which combined killed nearly 20 Americans and wounded dozens of others. Do you? But he's not alone. Last night, Hollywood elites, they lashed out against President Trump at the SAG Awards. Watch this insanity.
And everyone in airports that belong in my America. You are a part of the fabric of who we are, and we love you and we welcome you.
I love this country, and because I love this country, I am horrified by its blemishes. And this immigrant ban is a blemish, and it is un-American.
I would like to make a plea for everyone, if they can. Any money they have to spare, please donate to the ACLU to protect the rights and liberties of people across this country.
We 1983 Midwesterners will repel bullies. We will shelter freaks and outcasts, those who have no homes. We will get past the lies. We will hunt monsters.
You know, I say it all the time, these whiny Hollywood liberals, they're overpaid millionaires. They have armed bodyguards. They live in their gated mansions. They fly on their private jets. They're saved. And then, of course, there's the media. Now, they're ignoring the facts of President Trump's executive order and pushing more fake news onto you to try and distort what is really happening. Now, to counter all this misinformation, well, members of the Trump administration, they're trying to set the record straight, but the media won't listen. Take a look.
Here's the deal. If you're coming in and out of one of those 7 countries, by the way, identified by the Obama administration as the 7 most dangerous countries in the world in regard to harboring terrorists, and affirmed by Congress multiple times, then you're going to be subjected temporarily with more questioning until a better program is put in place over the next several months.
It's a 90-day ban to ensure that we have further vetting restrictions so that we know who's coming to this country. The safety of the American citizens, the safety of our country, has got to be paramount.
Let me make very clear, these 7 countries, what about the 46 majority Muslim countries that are not included? Right there, it totally undercuts this nonsense that this is a Muslim ban. This is a ban on travel.
Now, like Kellyanne just said, this is not a Muslim ban. And if you look at the president's executive order, which I'm sure many liberals have not, there's no mention of the words Muslim or Islam. And there are over 40 different Muslim-majority countries around the world that are not impacted or affected in any way by this executive order. In fact, the list of 7 countries impacted by this ban comes from the Obama administration and Congress. Now, in 2015, the Terrorist Travel Prevention Act, which Chuck Schumer voted for as part of a larger bill, placed U.S. travel restrictions on some citizens from Iran, Iraq, Sudan, and Syria, and on other foreigners who previously traveled to those countries. Then, last year, President Obama's Department of Homeland Security, they added Libya, Somalia, and Yemen to the list. So these countries were not randomly chosen by the Trump administration. And not to mention, most of these measures, they're temporary. Hear that? Temporary. Now, citizens in some cases from the 7 countries are banned from entering the U.S. for only 90 days, and the U.S. refugee program will resume after 120 days. Now, the president did suspend the Syrian refugee program, but only until extreme vetting measures can be put in place. What the president is doing is giving national security officials the time they need to strengthen vetting, which is what he's been saying he would do for months. It was a major part of this campaign. As President Obama once said, well, campaign, elections, they have consequences. Now, this compares to what past presidents have done. Now, back in 2011, after it was discovered that 2 Iraqi refugees living here in America were trying to assist al-Qaeda, well, President Obama reacted by suspending travel for some people from Iraq for 6 months. And after Iran took over the American embassy in Tehran in 1979, Democratic President Jimmy Carter, he imposed travel restrictions on all Iranians, including Iranian students that were studying in America. And Carter even had a few hundred of those students. They were deported. They were thrown out. Unlike what liberals have been saying, President Trump will still be accepting refugees. His executive order will allow for more than 50,000, which, aside from 2016, is in line with previous amounts from past administrations. Now, not to mention top Obama officials, intelligence, national security officials, they have been repeatedly warning about ISIS infiltrating the refugee population. Remember this.
Would that bring in Syrian refugees pose a greater risk to Americans?
I mean, it's clearly a population of concern.
The concern is in Syria, the lack of our footprint on the ground in Syria, that the databases won't have the information we need. So it's not that we have a lack of process, it's there's a lack of information.
And that obviously raises grave concern as to being able to do proper background checks of the individuals coming into the country.
Yes.
I don't obviously put it past the likes of ISIL to infiltrate operatives among these refugees.
We can only query against that which we have collected. And so if someone has never made a ripple in the pond in Syria in a way that would get their identity or their interests reflected in our database, we can query our database till the cows come home, but we're not going to, there'll be nothing show up because we have no record on that person.
There is some fear that some of these refugees may actually be posing as refugees, but they might actually be al-Qaeda or ISIS terrorists trying to sneak into Europe or the United States. What do you make of that?
Well, certainly that's a possibility. I mean, you can't dismiss that out of hand.
We should be conscious of the potential that Daesh may attempt to embed agents within that population.
The group is probably exploring a variety of means for infiltrating operatives into the West, including in refugee flows.
You got that? America's top intelligence officials under President Obama all saying ISIS can infiltrate the refugee population. And by the way, we can add Hillary Clinton to that list. That's right, even though she tweeted against the travel ban this weekend. Remember WikiLeaks? They exposed in a 2013 speech that Clinton said it was nearly impossible to properly vet refugees coming from Syria. Gambling with your life? The media won't tell you any of this. They'd rather be politically correct, push a flimsy narrative that preventing potentially dangerous people from entering the country will somehow lead to more terror attacks. Now, take a look at the claims being thrown around by former intel officials, liberal politicians, and so-called journalists of fake news.
I think the order is going to make the threat worse. It is going to make us less safe. So it doesn't make the threat any less, while at the same time it's playing right into the ISIS narrative.
This makes us less safe. There's no question in my mind that anyone involved in law enforcement, anyone involved in international security considers this an order that makes us less safe.
This will make us less safe. John McCain is exactly right. It will encourage lone wolves here in America. They have created most of the terrorism. The biggest problems we've had with terrorism are not from these countries.
All fake news. Now, these networks, these pundits, they're doing a disservice to the country and to the viewers by saying this president is actually incentivizing terrorists. Let me remind you, remember radical Islamic terrorists? They have been at war with the United States for a very long time. Look at all these major radical Islamic terrorist attacks against the U.S. Did America provoke all these? Did Donald Trump provoke them? Are we as Americans to blame for the Lockerbie bombing, the 9/11 attacks, the Boston Marathon bombings? You know, what this really comes down to is very simple. Democrats, overpaid celebrities, the mainstream media that are so lazy, they are willing to endanger your lives, gamble with your life to try and score cheap political points. So to those on the left feigning moral outrage over what President Trump is doing, let me be clear. Pay very close attention. The next time a radical Islamist from abroad yells Allahu Akbar and kills innocent Americans, you will have blood on your hands. And yes, Chuck Schumer, I'm talking to you. And Ashton Kutcher, whatever your name is, I'm talking to you. Be warned. Joining us now, the Deputy Assistant to the President, Dr. Sebastian